What is up, everyone? Welcome back to this episode of The Antidote. Today, I'm super excited to be joined by one of my dear friends, brother from another mother. This guy makes me smile every time I see him. We get wrapped into some of the deepest and headiest, most heartfelt conversations. So I wanted to bring him on so that you guys can enjoy his company, Mr. Christian Fajardo. How are you, Bob?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Dude, any better, and I'm gonna evaporate entirely, Life is just too precious, too sweet, and having you here is such a great reminder of that, man. You play such an amazing mirror in my life, and I got to imagine so many other people's. When I see you, my day gets better. Yeah. So, I want to hear a little bit about you today, a little bit about your story, and then just have an organic conversation about life because they tend to go pretty epic. So I think everyone's in for a little bit of a treat, and I know I'm excited about it. So thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm also pretty excited about it.
Heck yeah, bro. So let's just kick off with who is this guy? Where were you born? How long have you lived here? And I know you from the gym space. You work at a high end gym that I enjoy myself and go to, and we've gotten to work out a few times together. We'll dive into that a little bit, but tell us your story up until this point that led you to being a kick-ass trainer in beautiful Huntington Beach.
Oh, well, I was born in the Philippines. I grew up somewhere around in Tacloban in Manila for like the first 5 to 6 years of my life. And then I moved over to America and I lived in California majority of my life. I lived in North California around Fresno and Kings County area. And I also lived in San Diego.
Okay.
I lived in Louisiana.
And that's not in California. Okay, quick stint out in Louisiana. There's a good bit.
Then I lived in Orange County. I lived in Long Beach, Huntington Beach, Anaheim Hills. So there's a little bit of sprinkles everywhere.
Yeah. So you were like a military family, or what brought you all over the place?
Right on, yeah.
Yeah.
My dad was in the military for 20 years, so maybe.
Okay.
Moved around a lot.
All right. Yeah. How did that shape you? I mean, and sure. How old are you now?
I'm 37 now.
Okay.
So I'm September.
All right. So in 37, I know. I mean, you're a very intellectual dude. How is that upbringing able to shape who you are now? I mean, what parts of that do you still kind of bring into life? Because clearly you're here now. You're not moving all around everywhere. But does any of that play a role into the way you approach life?
It does.
Also, yeah. What do you think?
I think that I think the question is that I bear a lot it is around who served in any kind of governmental branch, military, some sort.
Mm-hmm.
And I think growing up felt like I did, even though I didn't officially serve in the military. But growing up with a dad who was always gone, I didn't realize the degree at the time of how much that impacted like my choices of my coping mechanisms or the unknown territories of like human behavior and emotions that a kid would have to go through. And then how that evolves and develops in their nuances as an adult in like career performance wise and dynamic relationships with like who your boss is or who your friends are, who your lover is, who your friend, the other different people can't like. So there's a lot to say to that.
So, and I'm reading you correctly, then it is the process of knowing that your dad's in service, you're a service family, so it's your military family, you're a service family. But dad also wasn't around a whole lot. So is there kind of almost a sense of, yes, he's in service, and no, I have to teach some of these skills to myself? I'm connecting the dots there. How's that?
Yeah. Yeah, appreciate you being able to follow that. I think having a father figure in your life is important for me, especially having like some exposure to that. And having him gone like half of the year was pretty tough, which gave me more an influence with my mother half of the year. And then figuring out like what messages or what lessons like he would instill for me to like carry that rule out while you would be out on deployment.
Yeah.
So some of those things were confusing in the moments, and some things were very clear in terms of what I had to protect as a member in the family, as the oldest child.
Okay. Oldest of how many?
Oldest, so there's 2 brothers and a sister.
Okay. So there's 4 altogether.
We're all together.
Yeah. Okay. And you touched on in that. I'm glad we opened with that, just because I see you and then so much of why I wanted to bring you on. I've been in the fitness industry for arguably my whole life, and I've worked with hundreds of different personal trainers and coaches, and there's something that stands out about you, not just in your physical practices. You can be doing animal flow, and then I think yesterday you were testing your VO2 max and just sprinting and then just collapsing on the ground. Is that what you're doing? Yeah, 2 max?
My mentee took initiative and led me through a Cooper.
Like, go.
So yeah, it was a 12-minute run for distance.
Okay, bro. Yeah. Yeah, I was that. But like, that's not uncommon. Like, I might come into the gym and just see you in the midst of something crazy like that. And that's just another day for you. But, the point though is that's so awesome that you go through all that. But yet when I see you, that's just an aspect of you, because what I see is this very service driven human that has a heart for the people that he surrounds himself with. If people come around you, they feel your presence. It just lighten the mood a little bit, you know. So that's what I like. That's my reflection of you, and it's cool to just kind of hear that perhaps that is rooted in something that you were brought up in, and perhaps the parts that Dad wasn't around for, or is helped shape the man that you get to be today. And that's just me kind of piecing that together. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? It's your experience.
First I just want to acknowledge just how you're listening to my story. I feel like this artistic flow from your intuition, and so I feel like we heard. So I really appreciate that, kids. As I hear you say, like, I'm a human of service, and I mean these are aspects of myself that you're seeing, which only goes to show, like, as we mirror one another, there are certain notes of expression that you've also had to have met in order to be able to detect those patterns in human behavior, which I think is where connection happens.
Yeah.
Which is where my path is being brought to, is to understand how human connection works from the void of loneliness or solitude or not feeling seen or heard. And so I feel that, like, when I hear you say I'm a man of service, I hear that more, and it makes sense, because I feel that the fitness industry, which is the area of my career path right now, my faith that I'm really exploring my ego and my spiritual development, as well as my emotional and intellectual development, as I try and cohese them in a way that harmonizes myself as just a person of service to love, both to empower, to heal, and to support and guide and help other people who are going through those struggles themselves, to learn ultimately the lesson of self-love.
Yes.
So I feel like that is like where I connect to my service, in my work, in my process right now of understanding myself as a coach, my philosophies and my mission. There are other areas as well from my dance career and my academic career with that I work to implement, integrate in the science and the fitness and the arts of moving and development. So
Let's be like, I'm kind of going around the world here to meet your person, but oh man, I'm following.
my why, yeah, yeah. Took a nice deep breath for that one, and got some resonating thoughts here. And I was actually talking about my bracelet linking to the anchor. So right now I have alive on my intention bracelet to as a reminder of the power it is to feel your life. And there's a whole story to that and its complexities. And then during the pandemic, Believe was I've been part of my why to get me through all my trials and errors and journey to develop my success story around my career. But the biggest why for me, it comes down to what I want to protect and what I want to give my life to. And that is to serve ultimately the message of love, kindness, and compassion. But through that, it has to enter absolute vulnerability, which is where, from my personal experience, we enter a state of dissolve where we have to let go and we have to surrender. And so in those moments is very, it can feel very foreign or unknown because it's an emptying process of phase that we go through before we step into like a new version of ourselves. And so I bring this up because I feel it's the world is constantly changing and there are so much information nowadays and the world moves so fast and we're navigating all these flow of data and energy. I feel like it's important to learn the ground, some kind of purpose, meaning, a message that we were uniquely, individually designed to facilitate that as a reminder into the world. And each person, I believe, carries that as a unique message for themselves. And I believe like these different career roles were meant for different people to get their artistic or their message out there. And that reminds us as an ecosystem, as a community, how we hybridize one another. But my biggest why comes down to being someone who could remind people that we can persevere, that some things are going to need strength and courage and the stamina to push towards those discomforts in order to say, this is who I'm meant to become. And I feel like the journey of life is a very arduous process in that meantime. And there's a lot of moments where we're going to want to give up. And how do we talk about that part when it's so uncomfortable and relationships break and the goals break and then all these pieces are left broken all over the place. So I want to come in and I want to step in and say we can put them back together because I'm broken enough to have found hope, have found restraint in my physical development, mental, spiritual, emotional. If I was able to have done it from a place of immense poverty, showing up in the Philippines and making my way up and develop myself, and to constantly work on my habits and my discipline, it's a way of life that I want to share and continue to be a reminder of. That never stops, man. That's for the rest of your life, as long as you're in this body and energy is flowing for you. There's that message that's gonna play in here, and it's either stuck or you
you get it out and you fight to get it out. And then once you fight to get it out, then you feel liberation or freedom and this clarity of just like, whoa, this is what I'm doing. And we need to feel that sacred, whether or not you just feeling it yourself, but vibration and frequency, it's that's powerful universal language. Yeah, I feel that we remind each other that's existing being. So. Yeah, man. I know I went.
We're on but hello, brother. Oh yeah, beautiful. Yeah, man. Wow, there's so much in there. There's so much in there.
You know, and if I be sure there's some specific, this happened just yesterday. Like my mentee was taking me through the Cooper, and in my head, I had to see how far I can get in 12 minutes. And
The Cooper is the VO2 max test.
VO2 max.
Yes. That's you're gonna run as hard and fast as you possibly can until you hit your literal wall.
Literal raw, yeah. And you got to find a pacing in your strategy.
Yeah.
But there are moments in there where it asks, you have to ask, you have a conversation in your head. And you go, why? Why go there to that physical threshold point? Why do you go there to break that? Why do you push your limits? Why do we dare climb Mount Everest and risk our life? Why? Why do we surf the highest waves in the world in red? Like you're naturally, I think, divinely like driven and drawn to peak performance and the ability to meet grace at those points and power. And that's the test of character emotional. Those are very developmental limits of this training and movement, and referencing that even to like the Spartan race. Sure, why do even the 5K? Why do the 10K? Why carry actual weight, and why push? And there are all these moments that exist that ask you why, and it asks us to dig deeper and to bring that, escalate that, bring it back out to the surface and say, look, out of all the overthinking and all the mathematical programming, the structuring, the systemizing, it comes down to I just wanted to feel my life. I just wanted to put a ladder. And I'm like, fuck, that's...
Yeah, you're smoking now wave or pushing to the fast, like, that last hill of a Spartan race, or getting shocked by a freaking, there's so many weird obstacles on that thing. I don't know what the hell's on there anymore, but yeah, to your point, man, it is. It's like, just feel that shot of life, that you feel that flow state, that time stops, nothing else exists. I'm just fully alive, fully present. And maybe that's it. If it was a completely selfish why, that would still be good enough. If it was like, I just want to completely just suck the nectar out of every moment as much as I can and be fully present, go for it. That's great. For you, what I'm hearing though is like, because you recognize that and the beauty in that it's kind of your calling to help motivate that out of others as well. Like, you do want this, you can get it, you can go there, whatever your thing is, man, whatever it is, like, let's just get you to it. Let's not just live dull lives, let's fucking bring it.
Dare to live, man. Dare to live, dare to become alive. Dare to feel your life.
Yeah, I love that. I reference often, my listeners are probably sick of hearing me say it, but I want to bring it up because, well, because Ram Dass is sitting right here, but what you're talking about, it's like to hit that threshold. I talked to you yesterday. You're like, you're lacing up your sneakers before you run. You're like, oh yeah, it's just a quick 12-mile run or 12-minute run. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, pick over 15 minutes later after you're done, you're just on the ground, just smoked because you hit your literal wall. I'm like, just another day for Christian. But that is, it's just like, why not? Why not hit it? But why not do it? But what I see in you in that is you hit that because even if it's like not so that you can create the physical strength in your legs so that you can do this, you're doing it because you want to be physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally equipped to walk someone else home. So you want to be able to be a support. And whether it's through physically being able to do that or inspiring somebody just by doing what you do. And Ram Dass's words, we're all just walking each other home. And I see that in you, man. And I feel that is, whether you, I mean, you can run with this or not, but I love that. I love that about you too, because there's this, I mean, that's such a mirror, and I knew we'd get into some cool juice on this, and we'll keep jamming. But yeah, like there's so many similarities in our mirrors and our whys that it's no wonder I wanted to have a candid conversation. I think this distraction free away from the gym and phones on silent and everything else, man. So yeah, it's beautiful what you're doing, man. It's really cool to hear the way that it's transpired and the way that you continue to bring your why out into the world. Thanks for doing it.
I appreciate you. Thank you for seeing that in me,
Yeah, bro. Well,
walking me home too.
that's what we're here for, brother. That's what we're here for. Since we're holding this book, you want to stop at a random page? For anybody watching, if you haven't seen this book, it was just sitting here. So it's got so much juice in it. And for people just listening, it's the Remember, Be Here Now book. It's just a crazy book of from Ram Dass, just like poems and pictures. And let's just stop at a page. Let's just see what the universe serves up to us. You tell me when to stop, bro.
Stop. Am I reading this moment?
Yeah. Sure, go for it.
Drama is drama. Is drama is drama. Desire is drama. Thought is drama. Breathing is drama. Emotions are drama. All form is drama. It's all part of the drama. I have no scruple of change nor fear of death. I was never born, nor had I parents. What does that mean? What it means is when you clear away all the underbrush, when you go back and back, not for the fun of it or for the powers involved, but to go back to be who you really are. Who you are turns out to be spirit, turns out not to be matter at all. No matter, never mind, no mind, never matter. Either way, it works.
So fascinating. Yeah, and then I bet the next page kind of just starts to continue to build on that, and sometimes it just keeps going and going. Just says, what's your? I mean, why did we land on that?
Fascinating.
I like this concept though of we don't need.
No matter. So, like, we're interpreting this right now.
It's to me, I see this. No matter what on earth, in all form is drama. Thought is drama. I'm feeling that this is weird saying like to have ego, to have a physical body, to be human. There's drama. We signed up for that shit. We're here. We got emotions. We got each other and all the differences in ego structure, the stories and the walks that we're on. So it's all drama. But no matter, never mind. No mind, never matter. Either way it works. To me, it's almost like this is the story of an ego death.
I feel that.
Yeah.
I think with what
just to kind of like go in an idea on what ego is.
Yeah.
I feel like that ego is a very complex. So talking like I so for pretty a lot of time for that. But I think just to simplify it in my own words, ego is identity. It's something we define ourselves to. And so to have an identity is to be molded into something a little more tangible for human consciousness and the mind to comprehend. And so I think when I think of that, I think of the energy it takes to confine a thought or idea or energy to in some kind of definition that actually an ego. And so I think what happens is what it's saying is that there's a lot of drama to think about this and this and this and this. What's neat is if you think about thinking, it takes stress and energy, but like it creates a fight or flight mechanism in our body's nervous system. Just overthink. And so that's what we spend a lot of our lives doing until we're exhausted and our nervous system is just fried, toasted from all the hyper development that we do to try and beat all these states. Drama, 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 drama. And at some point, it starts to say empty. Never mind. Right? And let go and surrender. That defining becomes undefined. Detach it. Let it go. It's all going to be like whatever it is going to be. And I think that this spiritual lesson that is the transiency of life's work of energy is that we're all flowing into one another, becoming one another, unbecoming. Let it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. I like the way that you started to kind of crystallize ego, because I think that is really, that is the basis of it. You know, like I say often that this is just a 100-year vacation called life. And, you know, in order to have that vacation, we have to have the ego, because without it, we wouldn't have this avatar, you know, this Christian, you know, this Rocky. It wouldn't exist. We would all still just be one, you know? So whether it was before or after, that oneness exists. But here on this little vacation, we have to have the ego. So therefore we have to have everything that comes along with, which is also part of the reason I hate it. I don't really care for when people just bash the ego. Kill the ego. Fuck the ego. You know, ego's not my amigo. Ego's not my amigo. It's the heels and yeah. I think it's just misguided.
Yeah. I really want to hear more about that.
In the spiritual community, or like I say, the kombucha drinking circles, you know, in the yoga world, it's all so often to kill the ego. We don't want the ego, and I think it's a drastic misunderstanding of something that is very necessary. Without the ego, we wouldn't be on this vacation. It's the kill the over exasperation of the ego, or let's get the ego out of the driver's seat. But like let's get to ourselves. Let's go into our own healing process enough to get into a form of self-care where we can teach the ego to be our first mate. But we're the captain. Capital I am the captain. But if we're still living under the, you know, that if the ego is still reigning in our lives as the superior authority, because it wants to be. I mean, it has the power to be that. You know, we signed up as souls incarnating in these bodies. We had this ego that has the power to be extremely powerful. So if we've done enough work on it, then we can say, I love you, and sit here in the passenger seat, look down, feel, so that we can get through this shit together and do the most good. But that's, you know, that takes time. It takes meditation. That takes journaling. It takes understanding yourself, looking in the mirror, seeing the things that you don't like about yourself, learning to like those things, understanding why other people might not like those things, and going to work more. You know, it doesn't stop. But when you have that, it's like I wrote a blog once called I I forgot what it's called. It's like the powered best friend, and I use the ego as the dog. It could be like your dog could be your best friend, you know. But you got to train it. You got to train it. So that's what I mean by when we're done here on this 100-year vacation, the ego goes. So while we have it, learn to love it. Don't try to hate it. Don't fuck the ego. Ego could be your amigo. Love that thing. You know?
You know, Rock, I really said, you say there are things, you said all these amazing things and acknowledge things you've seen at you that draws me to you and vice versa. Like, I think it's what we know, safe to say, we know with pain and suffering it's in this body. But you have just this gift to create playfulness, lightheartedness, and relaxation from all the tension, while still being able to feel that. I think that's a different kind of life work and shadow work that we've had to have integrated and synthesized and hybridized in your own formula. So I just want to take the time and the energy and the space to just acknowledge that, because that means a lot for me to see, especially for me living in a corporate world that's constantly in the programming of speed and advancement in technology. So I have to create intentionally the spaces in my life and a time that still nurture my child, my inner child, or my spiritual hygiene. And so when I see someone like you, I go like, yeah, man, I can still create playfulness. I can still have that light heart and that joy in that. So yeah, I really appreciate that about you. Thank you for that. Yeah. And even just the way you talk about like the spiritual community when it comes to having spiritual ego, killing off. Why do we have to kill off the ego, right? Because yeah, is that we both can safe to say that we understand as a function to ego.
Yes.
Because we were just talking about what brought me into the fitness industry and why you're creating this, doing this podcast, and our egos create these, our algorithms, these formulas to put out messages, to empower or create a reciprocal, some kind of like output to expand consciousness and remold them. And so I think sometimes with all the flow of data and with topics and thoughts, they get so heady and complicated and sophisticated that we start to lose parties. And so I think division starts to happen. And
What do you mean by lose parties?
like we lose certain audiences, or we lose certain friends along the way, of certain family members. Because we're constantly changing and growing and becoming more, you start to speak these jargons relative to like our clusters of,
Sure.
you know.
Yeah. Like anybody still following you? It's to you. But I think that's some of the listeners, and it like we keep a dose of. We can go after the stars, but I think it's important to like them to land the plane also. Yeah, could we do it to show up still on the 3D plane and go to work on Sunday? You know, what's up? Back on Sunday, kiddo. So it is. It's like, how do you dance between both dimensions, but while constantly integrating, right? How do you do it? I mean, you mentioned the corporate world, and you know, but you've like I brought you here because there is still such a lightness to you. I don't think of you as a corporate employee by any means. I know that technically is a piece of who you are, but how do you maintain your sense of self and your strong hold on your spiritual practices and staying true to your why? And what do? What's your regular kind of practices, or nothing keeps you in check?
What I do in my version of simplifying is to repeat certain patterns that are clear. And sometimes those clear things are pretty basic. Basic being that you breathe today.
Basic B. You couldn't be against You're still here.
And what I mean by like that, basically.
I know. I mean, could you explain it? But yeah, you pause and you. Exactly. You breathe. Yeah.
Then I brush my teeth.
Okay. Yeah.
So these all these programs are constant habits, and over the years, they just evolve. But they still are simple things of self care.
Yeah.
Did I eat after my workout? Did I replenish myself? Did I get my adequate hours of sleep? Did I say something kind to myself? So did I do my workout? So that they're very simple. But the part that makes it really complex is when we're tired.
Yeah.
And we're overcommitting, and the diversity in all our lifestyles become, okay, what do I choose now? So creating some kind of default system in your habit really can help anchor the very simple things that wires us to what you were saying. What is our why? Why do we self care? Why do we show up? And then also,
I love that. It's. I recently did a podcast on the self-care menu.
oh yeah,
Yeah, and it reminds me of it just because it's like we have our appetizers, our main course, and our desserts. We don't always get to our desserts. We don't need to, you know. But our main course, we should always be having our main courses. Appetizers we can use in a pinch. I think of it as the proverbial smoke break. Like, I'm just going to go and have a quick meditation. Or I'm not thinking clearly right now. I need to just unload something. It might be like, call a friend and just see if you can vent for a moment, right? They're in the moment things. Quick journal, pull a card, whatever, right? Whereas your main course is what I'm hearing. It's like you do a good job of always at least maintaining your main course, which is your brushing my teeth. For me, it's like getting my meditations, making that a daily practice, journaling most days of the week. Spending X amount of time in work and doing these things that I know are serving the bigger mission. Like I can see progress being made every day because I'm having my main course, and that is a form of self-care. And that menu, you can lose it sometimes. You can change because it can grow, as you're saying, and evolve. But if you're not conscious of it, sometimes we can get lost in it, right? In the rat race, you stop, and it's like, if we take time to remember what lights us up, what can ground us, or maybe it's the opposite. Sometimes we need to be lifting instead of grounded, right? Like, how can I reconnect to source? And that's where your desserts come in. Like, I need to actually just escape my bubble for a bit. Like, I booked a retreat for myself next week to go out into the mountains, and I got a little rider's cabin. That's a dessert. I'm retreating. I don't always do that, but I'm going to take 3 days and just be up in the mountains by myself and ground, look up, look down, do whatever. And I'm still working and doing everything else, but I'm in a different environment. And for me, that's what I can tell I need right now. So I just wanted to offer that because I hear that I give it to people as a cool metaphor for how to look at your own self-care and routines. But here it sounds like you're having your main course regularly. You're doing the things that need to get done, at least, if nothing else, that's happening.
yes. I really appreciate that you said that you taking the time and the energy to do your dessert and did a retreat.
Yeah, you did it. Yeah, I want it, but
It's so important to hear that too. Because it's funny how life works. Is I could say I have my habits and my routine, and sometimes it becomes obsessive. So I think it's important that this is what I love about coaching, programming, is we're analyzing and we're listening, to what we're trying to do with that ultimately with the programs.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's to yield a goal or vision in hand. Being around like the industry long enough of success, the work of success is something different than the work of like spiritual or the work of like happiness and love and peace. It's like a different
experience. But the work of success is very ego driven. It's what do you envision, and what's your goal, what's your mark, and what's your focus, and the capacity you have and tools you have to get to those points. And so we also need that in this physical body, in this life. But it's very taxing. So sometimes our default systems or programs or habits can work against us. And so I think like your programs like you're running with self-care and dessert retreats are great. Like how do we listen in on that when we know we need to go off program or deload? Undulate intensity.
Yes, yes.
That's it's really neat to kind of.
How do you do it? I mean, yeah, it's a perfect point because it's like all these tools are great, but what if we don't know when you use them, then they're pointless.
You know right off the bat, the breathing part. So I'll go for a walk, or I'll notice, have I been crying a little more recently, or am I like happy right? I have to be honest. Like, I'm not happy right now. And if I'm not happy, I have to ask myself, am I too attached to altruism? Am I too attached to the identity that I picked up and the habits I picked up from military life, family, or being the oldest child, where I have to just relinquish myself all the time, like self-offered, self-sacrifice? And is that serving me? And even though I built myself from service to has the capacity to overlive, because that's where I feel fulfillment, and I will constantly do that. It's like what my life is designed to do, and I know that was to just offer my life to people. And that's what I trained for, is to have the capacity to abundantly give. But like, once I don't have any left, then I go, like, how do I start to get visceral. I'll start to retract. I'll start to contract. I'll start to feel like I don't want to talk to anyone. So I start to pick up on patterns of behaviors physically in my heart. If my heart's been racing, in conversations with certain people who I feel like I'm just overgiving to them, or they're taking from me, or it's not reciprocal anymore in terms of like the values that's being given. So then once I feel that automatically, then I know like, okay, I need to go for my walks, or I need to make a unhealthy breakfast and throw some sausages and some eggs.
That sounds healthy to me. I don't know.
But sometimes that's enough for me to feel like it's shake away or offsetting my hyperfixation on like critical health, long living, or critical like spiritual hygiene.
I see. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
am I happy, and am I still in a place where I feel like I want to genuinely, authentically give? So once I know I'm not there, that's where I go, okay, I need me now.
Do you think that there's a way to keep that FA to not even get there, or to put it, is it always just a matter of how much can I do until I'm recognizing that my tank is running low, my battery is running low, and it's time for a new one, or is this battery rechargeable, and are we constantly recharging it before we're reaching that point? You follow me?
Yeah. So what I'm hearing you say is this battery like is this 100% charged to zero? Is that detectable? Can we actually identify it in a way where we can track it?
Yeah, and can you plug it back in every night? And if so, how? And if you're doing that already, then I've got to imagine that like as you gain more self-awareness, which just your ability to recognize these and like even ask the question, am I happy? Like how many people would do like, are you happy? That many of you listening, they go, are you happy? Is that something you'd even asked yourself lately?
I feel that.
Yeah. So like the awareness is there for you, and I think it's a part of I don't know, like obviously it's a part of who you are and your culture to continue giving. And I don't know, and granted, this what I must say is a bit of projection because I've gone through it myself. but I feel that I'm wondering if there is a point of this kind of like glorified martyr.
So yeah, yes. Yes. There's
That hits home because that is my life lesson right now, is to discover
letting go of that.
So our programming in the earlier stages of life, or it could be later, but some of these we attach to, right? I don't want to segregate this, but like I feel like it's more common in men to self-sacrifice a lot. And I think like that's like I'm always like I'm asking like, why do we do that? But where does that come from? And do we need to do that all the time? So for me, it's, I know just for myself that I will do that. And so I have to be aware of when I do that by asking my friends or my peers or, hey, how am I doing? Because they're going to be my like my eyes when I'm blind, when I'm so like deep in my like work or my default to the entirens. Hey, how am I doing? Like, how am I looking? Like, wait, instead they give the feedback. Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
that helps me. Or okay, I gotta listen and check in and how am I showing up. So I think just link this back to the battery. That battery is, I think this one is a work in process to actually formulate into some kind of like tangible analytical like formula in some sort in the program, but which I think would be really neat to see how that unfolds through technology through the years with where the health, wellness, and fitness industry is going. Because right now it's migrating more towards like, it's starting to draw a lot from Eastern medicine, Eastern philosophy, Western philosophy. Yeah. And I think a lot of that from experience, just watching things change over the years, especially like post-pandemic, when a lot of people have had a lot of time and like be in stillness and sit with their voices in their head and their headspace. And so all these new programs that's starting to develop, and the battery comes down to like what areas of our life can we checklist off, or can we identify recharges us versus takes energy away from us. So I think like just to simplify like those two questions, and then do more things or do more of the things on your list of taking away from you when you're dropping down, or are they adding to you?
Yeah.
And that's like a some form of indicator, like data point that you can go off of, like, okay, wow, I am.
The two questions: am I happy? And or what's two questions?
But it was is it what's taken away from my life, and then what's added to my
Oh, okay.
yeah. Energy wise, sure.
Yeah.
And that links to like, am I happy?
Right. Yeah. Like, let's start with that. Like, you wouldn't do this work at all if you didn't decide that there was a better way. You know, but then if there, if the blinders are still on, we're in the matrix, and we're in the matrix, right? But if you've asked the question, is there a better way? Am I happy? Then you've already begun the work, because there's no backwards. Gotta answer that question, you know. So this sounds like a great first two steps. It's like, am I happy? Yes or no. What brings me life? What takes away life?
Yes.
Yeah. Let's just start there. Yeah, or no. But even then, it's like, well, I'll create the space for that still too. I mean, I come back to my own lessons of that. You know, if we're in that self-acceptance phase, it's hard. That's when you go through the ego deaths. That's when you have to do the shadow work. That's when, and then to do that, please just, at least create a neutral space first. I mean, if we're trying to find out who we are and we're in a crowd of other voices, whether that be physical or surrounded by all of the things that once reminded us of this person that we're not sure we are anymore, or we're not positive that's making us happy anymore. Remove yourself, like skip to dessert, go on a little retreat, or do something so you can, create a neutral space. And then from there, then ask, like, okay, what, like, without outside influences, what brings this person life? What fills me up? What distracts? What doesn't? Who doesn't? And if you don't want to start with the who because it feels too pointed, totally cool, what characteristics or qualities or emotions are zapping me of my battery, right? And if you start to put those down, then, you can always work backwards and say, okay, I constantly feel the emotions that make me feel down or take life away from me when I'm around these people. Yeah, And then in time, and that's why it's so often it's like, I don't want to tell anybody what to do. It's not going to, it doesn't work. But if we're constantly standing and bringing more awareness to it, the dots will have to connect ourselves. Like, you will get to the point where you can either go left or right. And some people can keep going right and right and right and end up going in circles, and but a lot of the times it does, because we don't want to make the harder change and go left this time. But once you do, you say bye to those people, or you stop doing the thing, or whatever, you do make the move, whatever it is, then it's like, holy shit. What else can we do? How high can we go? What is this upward spiral going to bring next? But it takes courage. It takes heart. Yeah. Yeah, it does.
Oh, what a life we live, huh?
Yeah, what a journey. It's, I guess, often a 100-year vacation, but it's, but it's hard. It's not always, rainbows and butterflies, but that's the beauty of it. If it always was, we wouldn't have come in the first place.
Yeah.
I think people lose sight of that too, and it's like, we seek happiness so often, but I think more important is to seek purpose. But it's balance, right? Because if you're too purpose driven, as you're saying, then it's like, wait a second, am I even happy anymore? No, but it's still right.
And that takes very deep digging in one's life path to commit, because that's why no one else can write your life for you but you.
Yeah.
Because someone could say their whole mission was devoted to family, serving the family, their family. That may have prevented them from successfully developing in their life. I'm just using that a hypothetical situation where actually I'm actually recalling a memory with a friend that I know of, but like spent his whole life just being there for his mother. So his purpose is he made a mission to be there for his mother, but it halted a lot of his career development. And but he felt purpose and a mission, a function to be there for his mother. And I don't think that's wrong or bad. Like I think that was meant. If that's what he chose,
Yeah.
there's so much power in that. And if someone in the world needed to hear that or could use that as like whatever they're at in their life, family, that's right. They are committing to that family member. And so I think we glorify, and kind of back to the martyr concept you were talking about earlier, we can end up glorifying certain things. And there may be like some mal-effects or truth to it, but I think when it comes down to your own story and your own writing, as long as someone can rework or remind themselves that brings them life, that keeps them alive, I think there's power, importance, and value in that to stay in this world.
Yeah, and to not get too wrapped into like how many people can this affect, where to your friend it was drastically affecting one person, his mother. Yes. And I know, and I can get caught in that so often too, where it's like, well, how many people can we reach? And instead, maybe like, how deep can I be with this one person right now? Because it's no matter what, it's the same energy, and that energy has to go somewhere, So the ripple will either go to that person, and maybe that person is going on stage to speak to 1 million people, but it was your energy pouring into them that was able to reach a wider or bigger audience. Who knows, But it's like that's why it's just important. Like, just show up with attention. You keep doing what's on your heart, you know. And if you haven't crafted it yet or found words for it, then go on Vision Quest. Take them a treat. Eat some dessert, right? Dessert, which. So I wanna bring this back to something really quick. When we could. Well, tell me when this began for you. So, you know, moved from the Philippines, came oldest child in service in now the corporate setting, living out your dharma, though still in that process. It would be easy. I could see how many people could have just kept the blinders on and didn't done the success thing. Here's where we're going. How can I take the fastest train there, and never open themselves up to everything that we're talking about right now? What was it for you that allowed you to wake up or unfloat?
Ooh. I'm gonna sift through for a moment.
You go back to the file cabinet.
So I actually don't think that there's like only one point like these happened for me. I think they happened multiple times. I think just starting with, so I don't want to go too much into the trauma area in the earlier stages, because I want to be able to respect relationship dynamics. But I will say a lot of my damage happened very early in my life, where I was already questioning life. I think for a child to have to go do that at the age of 7 or so was already pretty
Okay.
nothing wild, but or questioning even like religion or God. So that there's some things that I noted from the earlier stages of my childhood upbringing, where I would just look out in the mirror and wonder if anyone's gonna help me or save me or show me what love looks like. And continuing that into my life, I felt like I was seeking that in my friendships without knowing I was seeking that in my friendships. And then I realized the teachers were there strictly. So I naturally hung out with the teachers. The teacher's pet. You get bullied for that, you get made fun of, but like, I stuck with that. And so by laws of attraction, I downloaded wisdom and knowledge from that. And so I kept seeking that path because I know I was getting loved from there. And then I met best friend. I didn't know at the time I'd be a best friend. And he introduced me to his family. And from there, I realized that like my best friend's being showered with like hugs and kisses from his family, and he's surrounded by all this normalized expression, like showing love and affection looks like, and that was very foreign. So something now I knew, even though there was resistance to it, like I could feel like, okay, something there is like a compass. Nah, it felt good, but I resisted it. But I wanted to know more what that looks like. Moving forward,
I noticed I was acknowledged or validated or was seen by creating success in my life or getting good grades or finishing first place. So I think in my earlier developments, I was seeking success and overperforming, to like feel the loss in my life. Moving forward, you start to make decisions. Counselors start to ask me, what do you want to do with what do you want to do with your career? And start this in high school, right? But we know that life experiences, the ego and the career pathways change multiple times. Sure. We can't. Yeah. So for me, I went through college 7 years, 4 years in community, 3 years in upper university, and those years were very highly developing years of sinking deeper into my purpose and my discovery around like how I wanted to show up by learning about myself through my peers, through my classmates, through my professor, and through exploring movement and all the different genres of that college has to offer. That I was making these decisions, and then after the college degree, somewhere in my college, I made a full decision like to really go with a fine arts degree in dance, and then dance professionally after that. And so a lot of these big chunks of phases in my life was to commit to why am I choosing this and to understand like where that bliss was leading me. Like what is it about this that was asking me why do I feel good in there? But like my old programming was saying, hey, these people told you to go be a doctor, go into business and get rich. But like I was resisting that. So for me, it's like, why was movement? Why was athleticism? Why was education? Why? Like, why am I drawn? So I just kept following, like, this feels good, even though there's difficulty in it. I deep down, it feels good. Like, it's what I want. Yeah. And so I just listened to that over years, even though I didn't always know where it was going to go. And so I realized just by listening to that inner like, bliss, your truth comes out and eventually it solidifies into another phase of your life that you're going to exercise or that I'm going to exercise and follow through with that identity or that mission. So after my dance career, I transitioned it into coaching because now I realized I could really like draw back from the other thoughts that I'd had from like business and me had possibly wanted to get into the military like my dad and from all my teachers and then to now coaching. And I was able to tie in a fitness, which is what I've been doing for a long time in my life. And so what I think just to simplify what I'm saying here is keep doing the work and over time the work becomes just a little more clear. And we're going to be able to take those lessons from the work that you're doing from all the different areas of your life, and it's going to stack. Yeah. And when it stacks, and you start to approach more of your, but more of your like calling, and your meaning, your purpose, your career.
I think and that's, yeah, I mean, thank you, brother. Thank you for sharing all of that. It's quite the journey. What you've said multiple times in there, though, that I want to add to that recipe, if you will, was the bliss piece. Like when you didn't know which way was up, you just kept following what felt good, Right now, at this juncture in my life, it feels good to not do what was told of me to go do, which was business route or doctor route or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. It feels good for you to do. Now, like if we kept doing just what what was not expected of you, right? Like then we can take that and become like the rebel without a cause, right? But at the time, it felt good because that like at that phase in life, to your point, it was like we just keep moving forward, and so you collect those tools of how to go against the grain. And now maybe that was your left when you could have gone right, right? And but then it led you to the next juncture where it's like, okay, is that the tools that I need now? No, but like what does feel good now is to move my body, and if I can do that professionally, fucking A, that feels good, right? So they have that check-in, they have that checks and balances, and am I happy? Does this feel good? You know, I think that's beautiful. That's beautiful. It's like stay in motion, but be drawn by something. You know, and if that something is a feeling, then great. You can always follow that. As long as we remain free here in this country and we can do what we please, then you can keep, pursuing your dreams and all that feels good. So that's it's beautiful. It's a very layered story it's got you here, and it makes sense too because it's not like your wisdom doesn't feel like, hey, I just read this great book and now I'm gonna just it. Yeah, it feels very practiced and learned and natural, which makes sense because it's like instant accumulation for you. It's constantly just recognizing there's a better way and we keep choosing it.
I really appreciate you saying that. There's a lot of moments in there that were like, I just felt supported, heard, and seen. Hey, you said me going against the grain, which is something I've done for so long. Rebelling or going against the grain, doing the thing that's harder. But I truly believe that finding grace and harmony and flow within that discomfort, it gives me the sense of peace at some point where now I don't have to try hard. That exists within that threshold point of stress, a discomfort. And so I experience peace faster. And I could take on more of life without the breakdown. So I just keep pushing the limits of that. There's I do get joy out of it. That's some shit to me, but I know why I need that. And I was mod, and I just encourage everyone else in their own ways that if somewhere in there you know that it makes you happy, you know why, you can feel it. But that's your breath air. That's your fresh breath of air out of the water. It's like that's why I did it. So I can feel that breath, that renewal, that reminder, like I'm here. This is what I'm here. And this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I appreciate you saying it.
Of course, bro. Yeah, thanks for sharing so candidly, and yeah, and just to kind of close on that point, what it really it doesn't always have to make sense either. Like, I think it so often it won't make sense, to follow that or to really create an intentional life. To many people, it may look like what are you gonna so often it is that you went left. People expected you to go right, so it doesn't have to make sense, and it may not even make sense to you at the time, but if it feels right, like try it, like get used to it, like get comfortable with that discomfort. And if it doesn't yield the immediate result that maybe you're expecting, doesn't fucking matter. It's experience. That's still a part of your life story. That like the lesson that you thought you were getting into wasn't the right. It wasn't the one. It like you were learning something else without knowing it. But you just kept moving forward. So yeah, create the compass.
Create the compass. Yeah, and I respect you creating universal like flow of this like topic right now because I do genuinely truly believe that like we are all at where we're meant to be in this life, and that
sometimes you just don't know, and sometimes you do know.
But all of these are just the work of nature and the work of something divine, like unfolding. And
Yeah.
I think listening to that allows us to know that we all have our part.
Yeah. That's a beautiful way to put it. Which can kind of bring us all the way back, and we can kind of close on is we can all play our part. And when I asked you, an hour ago, why you do it, you've recognized, and I'm paraphrasing, but like you've recognized how amazing it feels to find that flow state, to charge that wave, to hit your wand, get your VO2 max, and like really push it. And like you're in your flow, you're in your dharma. And to bring that out in someone else, or have an open invitation to do that, it's allowing somebody to play their part. And saying you're a part of this orchestra. Learn your instrument back. You're gonna love it, So I appreciate you, brother, so much for doing the work that you're doing, for following your path, and for just being such a light, man. Yeah, I really appreciate you, and thank you for coming on. Yeah, you want to tell the people how they can find you and do any work with you if they ever around?
I'm not as active on on the social media business platform yet. That is a work in process, but my IG handle is CRISCHEN C9. So you want to message me? Yeah, you can message me there for some. If you have any questions or so around any kind of advice or just human connection, more than happy to share some out there. Yeah.
I think, brother. I'm good, man. Any closing words? Anything else that you wanted to share? Get off your chest. I know we could keep jamming for hours, but we'll definitely have another episode. But yeah,
I think ultimately for me, from this, I just want to say thank you, and I appreciate you and anyone and everyone else who's been listening and following. There's so much magic and power in coming together, and we all have a certain amount of time in our days and energy demands, unpredictabilities. So I just want to acknowledge everyone who's been pulling in to seek or to recenter or to be guided into this light space and this time, for your part and for your energy and for your love.
yeah.
So thank you.
Love that. Amazing, brother. Thank you so much. This has been awesome. I'll do it again soon.
Yeah.
All right, bro. Until next time, guys. Thanks for listening to the Antidote. If you want to find Christian, I will drop everything in the show notes. But until then, we'll see you next time. Shoot.